Radhe Radhe. This will be very long, so I'll provide it in installments but written in a smooth book-like flow. No part 1, part 2 headings. You can keep reading continuously. Here is the beginning. Download arrow. Don't believe everything you think. Detailed continuous summary. The human mind is one of the most powerful tools we possess, but at the same time, it is also the greatest source of our suffering. Joseph Nguyen begins by highlighting a simple yet profound truth. The majority of the pain and stress we experience in life does not come from external circumstances, but from the thoughts we believe about those circumstances. When you pause and examine your suffering carefully, you realize that it is not the event itself, but your interpretation of it, your story about it, and your attachment to those thoughts that create the distress. The book opens with the idea that freedom is not about controlling everything outside you, but about understanding and transforming your relationship with your own thinking. Happiness, peace, and clarity are natural states of being, but they are clouded when we identify too strongly with the constant stream of thoughts in our minds. Nguyen emphasizes that thoughts are not reality, they are mental events that arise and pass away. Believing every thought without question is like following every cloud in the sky and forgetting the vastness of the sky itself. One of the key insights is that thinking is not a problem in itself. The real issue is our attachment to thinking. The mind produces thoughts automatically, just as the heart beats or the lungs breathe. When we start to believe every thought as truth, we fall into suffering. For example, when someone criticizes us, the criticism is not inherently painful. It is the thought, I am not good enough, or they don't respect me, that generates emotional pain. The thought creates a story, and we start to live inside that story as if it is absolute truth. Nguyen draws our attention to the difference between awareness and thought. Awareness is the space in which thoughts arise. It is the silent witness that observes without judgment. This awareness is always present, always peaceful, and untouched by circumstances. But most of us are so entangled with thinking that we forget the awareness behind it. Learning to rest in awareness is the doorway to ending unnecessary suffering. The book then moves deeper into explaining how the ego is constructed out of thought. The ego is simply the collection of stories we tell about ourselves, our name, achievements, failures, roles, and identities. None of these are our true self, they are just mental labels. The ego survives through constant thinking, comparison, and judgment. When we identify with the ego, we become trapped in cycles of fear, anxiety, pride, and insecurity. But when we step back and realize that these are only thoughts, the ego loses its grip. Nguyen stresses the importance of understanding that negative emotions are not enemies to be fought, but signals pointing to believed thoughts. Whenever you feel anxious, angry, jealous, or sad, look for the thought you are believing in that moment. You will always find a story at the root. I will fail. I am unworthy. I am alone. Life should be different. Once you see that this is only a thought and not reality, the emotion begins to dissolve naturally. This realization brings us to one of the central teachings. Suffering ends when you stop believing your thoughts. This does not mean suppressing thoughts or trying to control them. It means recognizing them for what they are, mental events, not absolute truths. The freedom lies in observing thoughts as passing clouds, not as unchangeable facts. Nguyen explains that the mind constantly seeks control, certainty, and safety, but in doing so, it generates endless worries and fears. The truth is that life is uncertain, impermanent, and beyond complete control. When we accept this reality instead of resisting it, peace arises. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means responding to life from clarity rather than reacting out of fear-driven thoughts. The author also explores the nature of desire. Most of our desires come from the belief that we are incomplete as we are. We chase achievements, possessions, relationships, and status because we think they will finally make us happy. But every fulfilled desire quickly gives way to new ones, keeping us in an endless striving of striving. True fulfillment comes not from satisfying every thought-based desire, but from realizing that our natural state is already whole and complete without them. Throughout the book, Nguyen emphasizes practical ways to disengage from overthinking. One of the simplest yet most powerful practices is mindfulness.
the practice of being present in the here and now. When you focus on the breath, bodily sensations, or simply notice your surroundings, the grip of compulsive thinking loosens. Another practice is inquiry. Whenever a painful thought arises, ask yourself, is this absolutely true, or who would I be without this thought? These questions create space between you and the thought, showing that you are not bound to believe it. The message of the book becomes clearer as it unfolds. Peace is not something to be attained in the future. It is our natural state when we stop believing unnecessary thoughts. The end of suffering is not about fixing the mind, but about awakening to the awareness beyond it. As you move deeper into understanding the nature of the mind, it becomes clear that thoughts have no real power on their own. They only gain strength when you believe them. A thought is like a visitor knocking at the door. If you open the door and invite it in, it will stay and occupy your mental space. If you simply notice it and let it pass, it cannot harm you. This is why some people experience deep suffering from the same events that others handle with peace, because it is not the event itself, but the thought about the event that creates the experience. Nguyen illustrates how much of our daily suffering is self-created. For instance, when you are caught in traffic, the fact that cars are not moving is neutral. What creates frustration is the thought, I am wasting my time, or this should not be happening. If you drop the story, the situation remains the same, but the suffering disappears. In this way, peace is always available in every moment, not after circumstances change, but when your relationship with thoughts changes. The author emphasizes that we live in two worlds simultaneously, the outer world of circumstances and the inner world of thoughts. Most people confuse the two and assume they are one. But in truth, your life is shaped less by the external world and more by the inner interpretations you create. Two people may face the same external reality, but live two different inner lives. Recognizing this distinction is the first step towards inner freedom. Another profound point is the understanding of impermanence. Every thought, feeling, and situation is temporary. No matter how intense an emotion feels, it will pass. When you understand impermanence, you stop clinging so tightly to mental states. Anxiety may still arise, but you no longer panic about it because you know it is temporary. Joy too will come and go, but awareness, the space in which these states arise, remains unchanged. That awareness is your true self. The book also uncovers the illusion of control. The mind constantly wants to control the future, prevent loss, and guarantee happiness. Yet life is inherently uncertain. Trying to control everything creates endless stress. True peace arises when you surrender the illusion of control and trust the natural flow of life. This surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It allows you to act intelligently in the present without being paralyzed by fear of the unknown. Nguyen describes how identity itself is built on thoughts. From childhood, you learn labels, your name, your role, your nationality, your beliefs. Over time, you begin to mistake these labels for your true self, but they are only mental constructs, not who you are. Who you are is beyond words, an awareness that is present before any label, thought, or story. When you realize this, you stop defending the ego so fiercely. Criticism no longer feels like an attack on your existence because you understand you are not the story your mind tells. The exploration of emotions is another essential teaching. Negative emotions are not enemies but guides. They reveal the presence of a thought you are unconsciously believing. For example, sadness may reveal that you are believing, I have lost something essential. Anger may reveal the thought, this should not be happening. Fear may be rooted in the thought, something bad will happen. By bringing awareness to these hidden beliefs, you begin to dissolve the emotions at their root. Instead of resisting emotions, you use them as pointers back to the thoughts you are clinging to. Nguyen also highlights the trap of seeking happiness outside yourself. Many people chase relationships, money, success, or recognition, believing that these external achievements will finally bring lasting peace. But once a goal is reached, the mind quickly moves to the next desire, keeping you in an endless cycle of striving. This constant chasing is based on the false belief, I am not enough as I am. True happiness is not found in satisfying every desire, but in realizing that you are already whole and complete without them. When you stop believing the thought of incompleteness, the natural joy of being shines through effortlessly. A powerful practice suggested in the book is to question the truth of your thoughts. Every time a painful thought arises, ask yourself, is this absolutely true? You may find that what seemed unquestionable is just an assumption. For example, the thought, I am a failure, collapses when you realize that it is only a judgment, not a fact. You may have failed at specific tasks, but that does not make you a failure as a being. By questioning thoughts, you loosen their grip and see through the illusion they create. Another practice is to shift from thinking to direct experiencing. Thoughts are always about the past or the future, rarely about the present, but life is only ever happening now. When you direct attention to the present moment, the sensation of breathing, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the colors around you, you discover a simple yet profound peace in the present moment without clinging to thought. Problems only exist in the stories of the mind. The author warns against trying to silence the mind forcefully. That effort itself comes from believing the thought, "I must control my mind." Instead, the key is non-attachment. Let the mind think what it thinks, but do not identify with it. Just as you can hear a song in the background without focusing on it, you can allow thoughts to pass without grasping them. Over time, you realize that thoughts lose their power when you no